One powerful way of accessing and manipulating functions from the URL is if we could pass parameters from the URL to the function itself. And that can be done in function handler as follows. If let's say we have a URL slash combinations and we pass n is equal to 10 and k is equal to 4, and we want to use this to actually return the value of the function called combinations of n is equal to 10, k is equal to 4, then what we can do is use this particular helper from Gramex.transforms in import handler. And when you prefix add handler as a decorator to any function, then all of the function's parameters automatically get exposed as URL query parameters. So in this particular case, what we're doing is in combinations, we are returning n factorial by k factorial divided by n minus k factorial. In other words, the number of ways we can pick 4 objects from 10. And the result is a floating point number. So what this will do is automatically convert the values in the URL to the respective types and make this calculation. So let's do this. We'll add this to calculations.py. We have our code editor. In the editor, in calculations.py, we'll add this upfront. And then let's go back to the IDE. And in our list of microservices, we'll add a function handler. And this function handler is at combinations. The path to the function is calculations.combinations. You don't need to pass any other parameters, but if you do pass anything, then it should necessarily be handler after this. Or you can just leave it blank, just specify the function and not call the function as an expression. The reason this works is because of what the handler decorator does. The handler decorator automatically converts this into a function that accepts a single parameter, which is handler, and then from the handler parses the values. So let's save this and let's take a look at slash combinations. Now that says it's missing the 2 required positional arguments n and k. So let's say we want to take 6 objects and from that pick 3. And the number of ways of doing that, there are 20 ways of doing that. K is equal to 4, 15, k is equal to 5, 6, k is equal to 6, that's 1. And if we pass in any invalid values, then the function throws an exception exactly as the Python function would. So what we have effectively done is taken any Python function and converted it into an API where the type conversion happens automatically. Now you can specify a variety of other type conversions as well. So you could use int, float, string, boolean, but you can specify lists as well. So for example, if you want to create a multiply function that multiplies a set of values. So let's do that. We'll create a multiply and let's add that to the code first in calculations.py. We'll also need to import prod from NumPy. That is what will multiply the values. And list is something that we can get from typing. So Python's type specification system is what is being used here. So this says we will multiply v, where v is actually a list from typing of integers, and it will return the NumPy product of these numbers. Let's test this out. We are going to use the function handler ID microservice. Open the microservices. We'll take function handler and we'll add one called multiply. And the path to the function here is calculations.multiply. Let's submit that and let's take a look at slash multiply. It says it needs a v. So let's pass question mark v is equal to 10 and v is equal to 20 and v is equal to 30. So this should multiply 10, 20 and 30 to give us 6,000, which is the correct value. You can similarly have lists of string, boolean, float, int, any other type, and it's possible to create more complex types as well. But usually what you need to keep in mind is that if there are multiple query parameters, let's say like question mark n is equal to something and k is equal to something, then you can convert those into one of these basic types. If you have multiple values, let's say n is equal to 10 and n is equal to 20 and n is equal to 30, that's where it becomes relevant to convert it to lists. And between passing arguments from a URL to a Python function, there aren't many other options that you could use. So this set of examples will cover the vast majority of the use cases you're likely to have.